Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to On the Spot Motorsports Media. I'm your host tonight, Mitchell Gunter, and we got a great guest joining us tonight, Julie Nataas. She is your winner at Indy and both the JEG All-Stars and overall and the top alcohol dragster class. But before we get started, we have to pay the bills, and so we have two commercials real quick, and we'll bring Julie on and get everything started.
Hey Tornado fans, this is Kurt Miracle of Miracle Automotive and Towing, proud sponsors of Tornado Football. I want to welcome you to beautiful Stark, Florida at David Hurst Stadium, and thank you for letting us be a part of this community. We're here for more than your automotive and towing needs. We're here to be part of Tornado Country. Go Big Red!
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Julie, thank you for taking some time out of your busy schedule and joining us this afternoon. Talk a little bit about your success at Indy. But before we get into all of that, I would like you to introduce yourself to our viewers.
Well, as you guys know, I'm Julie Nataas and top Alcohol Dragster driver for Randy Meyer Racing.
And I'm sorry I got your last name wrong, but I was just going after what the announcer said at Indy.
You are good. Everyone says it a different way. It's not even the right way that I'm saying it. So whatever everyone's comfortable saying, I'm okay with.
Well, we also like to dive into driver's education, and I know you have some college. Would you like to talk a little bit about that?
Sure. I did move to Santa Barbara, California in 2015, and I got my bachelor's degree in business marketing and entrepreneurship at Antioch University.
Well, Julie, I always ask this a lot of drivers. What actually got you interested and involved in drag racing?
Like a lot of other people, I grew up in the sport with both my dad and my grandfather's racing. So I was a baby the first time I was at a racetrack. So I grew up with it, and that's how it started.
Well, speaking about your family, your dad, Thomas, correct? He drove Pro Mod, just about anything that had wheels on it.
Right, pretty much.
And he was a very successful racer as well over in the European drag racing series.
He was, yes. He mostly drove Pro Mods and then Top Fuel Dragster. It was what he ended his career with, if you can say that, with a couple European championships. So, yeah.
Now, you started your career in drag racing at a young age, 9 years old.
Yes.
And junior dragsters, and I actually have a picture that I wanted to share with everybody, if that's okay with you.
Yes.
You go. So I always like to bring a little bit of history back when we do these podcasts and stuff.
Yep.
So tell us a little bit about driving junior dragsters.
That was awesome. Whenever I turned 8 years old, I started asking my dad for a junior dragster. I had already been asking for years, but I'm now I'm 8, I can drive. Where's my car? I was ready to try it. And then when I was 9, we bought a junior dragster and we started racing. So we traveled around in mostly Norway and then some in Sweden, just for fun to see if I even liked it. And then my brother, the one in the picture next to me, he eventually got a junior dragster and we started racing a lot more, both just me and my brother, and then also the three of us all together. So that was a lot of fun.
I tell you what, when you're doing stuff like that as a family, to me, it just keeps your family tight knit together, and you all have the same passion for the sport. But I mean, you just didn't do junior dragsters. You actually moved over to doing go karting and also formula cars as well.
I
Tell us a
did.
little bit about why you changed over to that for a little while.
So in Norway, we only have like so many races, or like in Europe in general, we only have such a long season and so many races to go to. So I wanted to race more, and I've been wanting to be the best driver that I could be. And my dad wanted me to like be the best driver I could be too. So we got some go-karts, both for me and my brother. So after school, we would go-kart racing. Like we would go practice racing go-karts, and on the weekends we would either be at the drag race or a go-kart race. And then a couple years later, we felt like it was time for me to move into something bigger. So while I was doing drag racing and go-karts, we added the formula car, which was a bigger car, higher speed, and a bigger racetrack. So we did all of these three all at once, which was a lot, but it also meant that we could race a lot more, just like we wanted to. So, yeah.
Now, those formula cars, they actually had like a 1.6 liter Ford Escort type motor in them, correct?
Yes, it was. It's called Formula Basic. It's one of the smallest like Formula car classes you could possibly drive, but it's like that one next step that people go move up to from go-karts.
Yeah, and I took some time and looked at the cars, and it's kind of familiar to Indy Lights, except the cars are like a quarter scale of an Indy Lights car.
Yeah.
That's what it kind of looked like. So I know the cars probably didn't weigh very much. Can you tell us about how much they weighed, or do you remember?
I cannot remember. I have no clue.
Well, I got one Facebook user here wants to congratulate you,
Well, thank you.
Netta, on your accomplishments. But now in 2013, you decided to pretty much step away from the karting and the Formula car, and really get back into drag racing. And what class was that you actually stepped back in the car?
Well, so whenever I was done or grew, when you get older, I grew out of the junior dragster. So we got a super comp dragster that we bought here in the States, and we had that car shipped to England. So we started like going there every weekend, racing the super comp car before we had it shipped to Norway, to practice some more, because me or my dad, we had no clue what we were going to do with a super comp car. Like bracket racing, that was completely new for him. Like, yes, junior drag racing is kind of bracket racing, but not in the same way as a super comp car. So I wanted to go for the European Championship, and I knew that it took everything out of me and my dad to be able to do that. So that was kind of the point where I was like, okay, I have to pick one motorsport where I'm going to chase a championship in. And I picked drag racing because that's what I grew up with. That's what I love. And at that point, I had already kind of decided that I wanted to pursue going racing over here in the States and try to like race in the Top Fuel Championship with NHRA. So it was a no-brainer for me.
Now, tell us a little bit about that championship that you won in 2014, and where you was also second overall. And so people knows what we're talking about is that y'all have regions over in Europe, just like we have different regions here in the United States for the NHRA. And
Yeah.
you won in that one, I think it was the Central region, correct?
So we have that European Championship, which I believe, I don't know what it is like right now because I haven't checked, but at that time it was about 10 to 12 races that we would go to. And I believe we had 3 different regions. And that was considered the European Championship, and then like the regional, like we have here. So I placed second in the European Championship, the the big one, and then I won my region, which was the central one. So that was pretty cool.
Did that give you a lot of confidence, stepping into that car and was able to be so successful and winning over there in the Central Division and placing second overall?
For sure. Like I said, me and my dad, we have no clue the first couple of years with this race car. Like, how are we going to tune it? Like, bracket racing, it's a whole new, like, it's a new thing. It's not just to like get to the finish line first. So when we did get a hang of it and we finally could be like, oh yes, we were so close to this ET every single time, that for sure gave us some confidence and we knew what to do with the car.
Now, racing over Europe and now racing over the United States, do y'all have big crowds over in Europe that comes out and watches the drag races?
At the FIA events, which are like the big ones, like I guess you can compare them to the national event. That's like what an FIA event is.
Right.
There's people, usually a lot of people, as long as there's nice weather and it's not raining. As soon as there's bad weather on this way or the forecast looks bad, no one comes out, like barely any people. So I feel like it's a hit or miss, but of course we want the sun to be out there, and that's what we need when we're racing. So, yeah.
So you say NHRA fans are a little bit more die-hard. They don't usually go away when it rains.
We could definitely tell at the Indy here at the U.S. Nationals that day, when the weather forecast was literally rain all day, that the fans was barely there. Like, yes, there was fans there, but not as many as it would have been if it was sunny and that was the forecast. So it's the same, same thing.
Well, I was very surprised of, Gainesville Raceway, the Gator Nationals, how many fans actually still stuck around with all the crappy weather that we were getting this year. And it was really difficult for people to get out of the parking lot afterwards because, don't laugh, but even I had to be pulled out. I got stuck on Saturday. But, I think the fans, they really enjoy coming out and watching all the drivers compete. And I'm starting to see now in the stands, used to after nitro cars ran, pretty much the stands went empty. They didn't really stick around too much and watch, Alcohol Dragster or Alcohol Funny Car or even the Pro Stock and Pro Stock motorcycles. But I see more and more people that are now sticking around, and I think they're starting to get educated because of podcasts and drivers like you coming on and explaining things about the cars, that it's starting to strike a little bit of interest in those fans for them to hang out.
Yes. Well, when it's also raining, I feel like it's a great time, like, to go out there and meet the drivers. Like, yes, if it's pouring down, we might have left for the day, like if they called it, but most of the time there's barely any fans out there. So if you want to go meet a driver, that's a great time to go meet them.
Right. And I tell you, Joe Costello and Reinhardt, they were preaching that at Gainesville. Hey, take the time, go around, see your drivers, get to meet them, more one-on-one, because there's not as many fans here. It gives you that opportunity.
Exactly.
And yeah, because, y'all are people just like us, and y'all have lives and everything. And it gives you a better understanding of the driver. That they're just not there to sit in a car. They're smart. They're very educated. They know the ins and outs of the engine, the chassis, and all of that.
Yep, that's right.
So to get a little bit into Indy real quick, what was it like winning the JEG All-Stars?
Probably the most surreal moment I've ever had in my career, and one of my strangest wins I've ever had, I would say. It was wild.
Yeah, to talk a little bit about that wind. It was very, very weird how it happened. The panels start coming all off the car, and a few of those ended up in the seat with you.
Yes. So when the body flew off, there was a bunch of the pieces that landed in my lap, so I couldn't actually reach for my parachutes, which they were already out. I didn't know that, but I couldn't reach for them, like because there was just way too much in my lap over my hands. But right before it even covered my face, so I couldn't see either. But right before the finish line, so at least one of the body panels flew out of my face and I could see. And as soon as I crossed the finish line, I see a wind light and I was just looking around me like, huh? What is this? Like, I kept
Hell, right?
straight, like, wait, I don't have a body? Like, huh? I won? Like, it was all so weird. So I actually had, like, I could have just pulled right up into the winner's circle with the car, but I actually had to stop and just be like, what is this? Why do I have body panels in my lap? And I was actually a little bit angry because I'm like, God dang it, we ruined the body. What is this? So I threw it out of the car and just jumped out of the car right there to check it all out. But yeah.
Well, I was actually worried when I saw it if you got injured anyway with those body panels coming off, but unfortunately, you got unscathed. You know, you got out of the car with no issues.
Yeah, it
And
was the body and the wing and some marks on my wheels, and then my helmet was scratched up, but not me. I'm all good.
let's see. We got Judith Young. She says, "Good evening, Mitchell. Congratulations, Julie."
Thank you.
And I want to mention if anybody has any questions, if they would like to call in and ask you a question, they're more than welcome to. I'm going to throw up my phone number real quick. So if anybody wants to call in and ask a question, they're more than glad to.
Yeah.
So, after that body panel pretty much was destroyed on the car, tell us a little bit about the adventure of getting the other body panel there for the next day.
So this was close to 11 p.m. Saturday night, and first round of the U.S. Nationals was scheduled for 9:45 a.m. Sunday morning. So getting a body we had a short amount of time. We had overnight, and we weren't sure. But I was like, maybe we can find a body sitting around here in Indiana that'll fit my car. Maybe we can get my body from last year up here somehow, some way. And Megan and her husband ended up actually driving my body from last year that we retired because it's all stitched back together. It's a little rough, but it still works. They brought it up here, but they weren't going to be able to make it for first round at 9:45 a.m. And luckily, we come to find out that they actually moved us to 2 p.m. Sunday because of the weather. So they delayed us to try to get top fuel in before us. So at 1 p.m., my old body from last year arrived at the track, and we were able to put it on and then go up there for first round of elimination.
Now, I heard they brought that body in on an open trailer. Is that correct?
They did, yes. It was flying down the highway, so we were just hoping that whoever put it on there secured it really well. We weren't going to have another blow up.
So your team was able to pretty much get the body panels back on the chassis in a pretty reasonable time.
Yes. If it wasn't for the fact that Megan and Adam could drive it up there, we wouldn't have been able to make it for first round or to even win this race at all. So,
and it was kind of like a Cinderella story. I mean, they were able to get the body there. They moved the time for y'all to run back. It all fit in place. You go out there, you go through eliminations, and boom, you're the winner at the end of the day.
Yeah, it's probably the first time I've been happy for a rain delay at the racetrack.
And I tell you, to be able to double up at Indy, that right there is wonderful.
Oh yes, it still feels a little unreal to me, but the fact that we were able to do it just I don't know. It's wild.
Yeah, I tell you, it just goes to show you that teamwork can go a long way. Um, how did you and Randy Meyer, you know, get acquainted and you become a driver for him?
So I think it was back in 2017. I had one of my best friend, Johnny Limberg, introduced me to Randy because I had mentioned to him that I was ready to upgrade my license and start racing here in the United States. So Johnny introduced me and Randy to each other, and from there, I kind of got my license. And, we took one day or one race at a time because Randy didn't really know how good of a driver I was. Like, my experience, he literally just trusted Johnny Limberg and what he had heard from other people when it came to me and what I've done before. So I got my license with them September 2017 and did a couple of regional races before we decided that we were going to continue to race together in 2018. Yeah, and I'm still here, so.
Well, I tell you, Mr. Myers, he has great equipment over there and competed for several championships, and he just seems to be a really nice guy that really loves the sport of drag racing.
He is. I'm so happy that Johnny could introduce us and that Randy gave me a chance, even without really knowing who I was or even watch me race. Well, when I think about it, he did come to Sweden and watch me race my Super Comp that summer. He did. Kind of forgot about that.
Well, would you like to talk about your crew and their names and what they work on and give them some recognition?
Well, so I have JJ. He's my main car chief, and he's really only like the only main guy that I have with me, and he's kind of in charge of everything. And then we have a lot of flying guys. That weekend we had Michael, or like I like to call him Ernie. He helped us out. He used to work for Antrim Brown years ago, but he's now not working full time on a race car team anymore. So we were able to bring him out. So it was pretty awesome. And then my dad was there for his first win that weekend, which was pretty cool. So yeah, there's a lot of crew guys that I should give recognition to, but I think we're probably like 10 people, 15 people that like do all of this together during the year. So,
well, Judith has a really long question, so I'm going to ask Judith. Hey, Judith, if you can call in to my phone, just give me a call and we'll put you on the air with Julie. My telephone number is 904 966 1386. And while we're talking about that, I want to remind everybody, if they want to watch the Jegs All-Stars, it's on tonight at 11 p.m. Eastern Time on FS2. So they'll be able to go on there and they can see what happens to you in the final round and the body panels and stuff coming off. And also get to see all the other winners that weekend as well of the Jeg All-Stars. Do you have any like swag and stuff that you are, selling at this point in time?
I do on my website. Right now, I'm all sold out of all my shirts. I literally just put in another order, so I hope to have it all restocked here in a couple of weeks. I believe I have some hats and maybe koozies left, but shirts I'm all out of at this point.
Well, I'll try to reach out and purchase one from you here in the next week or so, and then when I see you at Gainesville, I'll make sure I'll get you to sign it, either a shirt or a hat, and it can go on the wall of fame back there.
Yeah.
Hey, you called on the spot Motorsports Media. Is this Judith?
Hey, yes, this is.
All right, Judith, I'll let you ask the question. That was pretty long to read.
I'm sorry. I'm long-winded. All right, Julie. So I'm a female. I'm a car enthusiast. What you do is probably an ultimate dream of mine. But here is my question. As a woman in an already in very intense situation, how do you maintain your composure and your train of thought and your focus? And you do it well. I mean, I've seen clips of and footage, and I mean, honestly, most people would lose it in that situation and unravel, and you've handled it with such stride. Is there any type of ritual or like pregame that you do in order to get your head in the right state of mind?
First of all, thank you so much. I'd say this comes from years of experience. I did not used to have my mental game and my focus as good as it is right now. Like, I've definitely had to practice on focusing on what the task I'm about to do and try to like block out everything else that's happening in my life. Because, you know, life happens and some days are, you know, worse than others. But when you're in that race car and learning how to like block all of those thoughts out and actually be able to focus on what you're supposed to do is a thing that's taken me years. And I feel like at this point, that's definitely something that I got under control. And with keeping my composure when things like this happens, I think it's one of those things that I couldn't do anything about that. Nothing that my team could do wrong. Like, it happened, and that's part of racing sometimes. So you just got to take it as it is. And I might just be like calm as a person itself, but you know, I try to look at the bigger picture and see, you know, what's actually important here.
And I'll tell you, that's a good question there, Judith, and Julie, you're absolutely correct. I mean, a lot of people don't understand how mental it is when you go to race. I mean, everything
Absolutely, yes.
depends on you having a clear mind, going up there, staging the car, being clear-minded when the tree comes down, because one little thing gets in there and it can affect your reaction time. It can affect, you know, say people who run pro stock, their shift points. You have to be very, very mentally stable and know how to stay calm in situations when things start to go awry.
Yeah.
Know how to still keep that mental focus ahead. Thank you, Judith, for calling in.
No problem. Good talking to you, and congratulations on everything. I look forward to see what you do in the future, Julie.
Thank you so much.
All right. Where do you see yourself going into the future? I mean, do you want to eventually get out of the alcohol car and get into nitro? Is that something?
I see the top alcohol dragster as a stepping stone, like somewhere I'm at to try to better myself as a driver, just like I did with the junior dragster, super comp car, the go-karts, the promo cars, and now I'm here, which is all making me a better driver so that I can go top fuel racing. Like, that's my ultimate goal and my dream. So we're working on it, but it takes a little bit more money than what it takes right now. So.
Oh, yes, it definitely does that. You can actually talk to Ron Capps and Antron Brown about that, you know, going their own way and creating their own teams this year. And I tell you, they've been both of them has been very successful with what they have done. You know, it took Antron a little bit to get there to win an event, but he's done it. But you're right, it does take a little bit more cash flow. A lot more corporate sponsors to come in and be your marketing partner to make those things happen.
Yeah.
What driver right now, what driver in the top alcohol class really gets you up on the wheel that really drives you to be a better racer, a better performer?
Oh, wow. I would say there's quite a lot of us right now that are running so good and always on their A game when it comes to like having a good reaction time and having a really good ET and just the way they're driving. So I don't know, it's hard to pick just one, but I really do love to race Joey Severance, which I raced in the final round of the JEGS All-Stars. He's like a world champion, and I feel like I've never really been able to beat him. But like every time I race him, he always wins. So the fact that I won over him in JEGS All-Star, and I think it was the semifinal of the U.S. Nationals, was pretty big. And I have so much respect for them, like him and his family. They're always awesome to race. So I feel like he always brings out the best of me whenever we race each other on the starting line. Because, you know, I want to win over him, and I finally did.
Yeah, there's always that one person that you have a lot of respect for that you race against. It doesn't matter what class, and it's not a thing that you dislike them, but they're a competitor too, and you have to beat the best to become the best.
Exactly.
And so, I mean, I bracket race. But I have a lot of fun at it, and I've got some friends that sometimes I don't like racing because I know they're good. But hey, to be able to make it the next round, I have to beat them.
You do.
You have to be really good on the tree to make that happen the majority of the time, especially in bracket racing.
Oh yes, so important.
And we're actually going to try to do a show on here one night where we explain to people bracket racing, because I think the reason why we don't have a lot of fans in the stands, during bracket racing, is because they just don't understand how the numbers work, and I think if we educate them with a whiteboard and draw it all up and show them the equations like math, they will get a better understanding of it.
I think so too, because they're probably so confused as to why they're slowing down up there.
Right. Why is that car leaving before the other one? Exactly. How many more races do you have left this year?
I think it's 4 races. I'll go to Charlotte, Dallas, Vegas, and Pomona. Yep.
Yeah, I was going to try to make it up to Charlotte, but unfortunately, I'm having to cover a guy at work. I do have a day job, and he's going on a cruise with his wife for his anniversary, and so I'm taking his call that weekend, so he's able to go on that cruise. But that was one of my wishes of trying to get up there to Charlotte and watch the race. And I tell you, it's as far as the countdown on the pro side. You got some really good drivers up there in those top 4 spots that are competing in each category. But yeah, that was one of the tracks that I wanted to go watch.
Yes, Charlotte is probably one of my favorite racetracks. Pomona is my absolute favorite, always is, has been. But racing in Charlotte is the facility, the people, the fans. It's awesome.
Yeah, that was going to be my next question. What was your favorite track?
There you go. It's Pomona. And the reason why is probably because it was like my first racetrack that I had ever been to here in the States. And the first time that I saw NHRA, and I realized that this is something I can do.
Right. And that's where it all originated from, was, California and hot rodding and all that stuff started there and spread it out to the east. And I think that track is very important, and I hope maybe one day that we can get the finals back there instead of them ending in Las Vegas. I just think it's more appropriate to start the season off in Pomona and finish the season in Pomona.
In Pomona.
What's that?
We do finish the season in Pomona.
This year, yes. Last year we did not. Yes, that's correct. But Gainesville is going to be the beginning track of the season this coming year, and not Pomona. But I tell you what, Julie, it's been really nice having you on. I don't want to tie you up all night. I know that you have a busy schedule, and
thanks for having me.
I'm glad that you're actually getting a a little bit of time to relax this weekend, and you can sit back and you can watch the TV.
Oh, I'll be watching racing all weekend.
Who's racing this weekend for Randy?
Travis Trumake.
Okay.
So they have one car out there this weekend, but I'm all here for the countdown, watching the Top Fuel and Funny Cars, and even the Pro Stocks. I want to see my girl Camry go some rounds, and hopefully Travis is gonna do good this weekend too. So I have plenty of racing to watch. It's weird there.
We've had Camry on here as well, and what a super sweet girl she is. I mean, she is just super nice. She's got a great crew chief in Jim Yates. He's been around the sport for a very long time, and I had him laughing because I have an old hero card from him when he raced the Splitfire sponsored car, and I showed it to him. He's like, "Where did you get that from?" I says, "I can't remember. It's been that long, you know." I said, "It's been a long time, but it was probably out at Gainesville, where I picked it up from and had him sign it." But super nice guy, and I tell you, she's more likely going to be the rookie of the year. She's got a great attitude, really great attitude.
She's sweet.
What's that?
Yeah, she's really sweet. She is.
Yes, she is. Who's your prediction on winning the championships in Pro Stock Motorcycle, Pro Stock, Funny Car, and Top Fuel? Do you have any people that you think may be the champions?
I think Erica's going to win Pro Stock. She's been dominating this year, and I think she's going to keep dominating. So I think her. And in Top Fuel, if Brittany keeps running the way she has been running, I think she's going to be the champion. And Funny Car, I'm not sure. Robert Hyde, he's been doing good.
Well, I actually had picked. Robert Hyde was one of my picks for Funny Car. I picked, of course, Erica Anders. I picked her. Pro Stock Motorcycle, that's kind of like up in the air. I mean, you got Joey Gladstone that came on late, and man, Reed Motorsports, they are doing really, really good things over there.
Yeah.
And you got Matt Smith too, so it's going to be pretty close. Matt's a very good competitor and a very good businessman.
Yes.
On the business side of things. Top Fuel, I think Steve Torrance has still got a chance. They can get really hot late, and I know this has not been a year that they were actually looking for, but they have been really hot at late, and it wouldn't be surprising if he does win.
Not at all.
4 races that out of the countdown and becomes the champion. But you're right, Brittany over there, Brittany Force and David Grubnett. David's got it going on, man. They have been laying down some mile per hours that is just totally unreal over there.
They have.
She's just got to get her reaction times a little closer together, and she can possibly win it. Yes, I'll agree with you.
I agree, but it's the countdown, so everything can change.
In a moment, you can't afford to have a bad race.
You can't.
If you're in that top 4, you can't afford to have a bad race, because one bad race and your season might be over.
Yep.
So. Well, Julie, thank you so much for coming on. And anytime that you would like to come on, just reach out to me, and we'll be glad to have you. I'm going to share this to a bunch of drag racing social sites as well as we get done, so the views will start shooting up. And if you want to, you can copy the link as well and share it on your page.
Alrighty, that sounds good.
All right. Well, you have a good evening.
You too.
And thank you again.
Bye.
All right. What a great afternoon to have Julie on to talk about her Indy win and, things that are going to come up in the future for her. We wish her the best the rest of the season and looking forward to next year. Again, if you're just now tuning in, follow us. Go hit the follow button on our page, On the Spot Motorsports Media. Yes, we used to be On the Spot Motorsports with David Rogers. We have changed that. We are still part of the OTS group, and this podcast has been created by myself and David Rogers. We try our best every week to get other individuals to come on. Sometimes we mostly get drag racers on. They're easy to contact and get on, but we are trying to reach out and get some other motorsports on here as well, as far as NASCAR Xfinity, the Truck Series, ARCA. We just haven't had any luck at lately. So if you know anybody that races in those series, please let them know that we are trying to contact them and trying to get them on the show and let people hear their stories. But that is going to be it for us tonight. Our next thing that we will be doing live, besides our podcast, is the 352 shootout that is coming up October the 29th at Gainesville Raceway. We are going to live stream this event, but it would be better if you come out and sit in the stands. We're going to have a bunch of heads-up classes that are going to be racing, open comp class. We got some stuff for the kids to do. I believe a trunk or treat, a costume contest, and a car show. So want to remind you about that. And then coming up in December the 1st through the 3rd, is No One Fights Alone. We will also be live streaming that event, but I encourage you to come out and watch all the racing action. And if you do have a vehicle, guess what? Again, they're going to have a car show as part of this event as well. Again, we want to thank everyone for joining us tonight, and we're looking forward to the next show. And we always place an event to our page, and we try to share it to different other sites to let everybody know who that next guest is going to be. But until next time, thank you again for watching us.